Hello, welcome back, my Royal Rogues. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue, and tonight we have the reports that the so-called friendship, if that is a word that we can use here, between Victoria Beckham and the Princess of Poo Drops is over. Now, forgive me if I'm late to the party, because I don't remember Victoria and Meghan being friends. Because when you are friends with someone and you are more or less famous, a simple image search on Google will give you at least one instance in which they were together. Because that's how friends behave, right? They hang out together. Or as Dionne Warwick says, that's what friends are for. But no, I tried to find a picture of both of them together to no avail. And it's not like I'm an expert looking for images or videos. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I am an expert looking for images and videos. And the closest thing that I could find was Victoria and David at the sausage wedding, looking great as usual. But I have serious doubts that this invitation to such a cringe moment in royal history actually meant something. Because, of course, you remember that Amal and George Clooney were also invited. And by the way, it's equally as hard to find a picture of either of them next to any of the Montecito morons, simply because George stated himself that he didn't know Meghan and Harry well at that wedding. And I think that the most important word here is well. I think that he said that he didn't know them well just to not be too harsh about it. But what he really meant was, who the F is this Meghan anyway? So you see that this is a recurrent topic in regards to the Duchess of Sausages. So what kind of guarantee can we have that Meghan actually hasn't spoken directly to Victoria ever, let alone be called friends? Or maybe Victoria was the kind of friend that Meghan wanted to summon for her 40 by 40 initiative that never saw the light of day. Or maybe we are talking about imaginary friends, but nah. You know that I always cut Meghan some slack. I always give her the benefit of the doubt because, in scientific terms, the lack of photo proof of Victoria and methane together doesn't mean that a friendship doesn't exist. But that's why I tell you that we need to take a closer look at people's actions. And one action that speaks louder than words is that the Montecito morons were not invited to Brooklyn Beckham's wedding with Nicola Peltz, which was enough of a public snub that could not be erased from global headlines. That's something that everyone saw with their own eyes. But at the same time, we also know that behind the scenes at that wedding, there was enough drama between the bride and the mother of the groom to fill an entire book. Especially the way, Nicola rejected Victoria having anything to do with her wedding dress. And this is something that must have hurt Victoria deeply, and even if they are in so-called better terms now, I have my reservations regarding the way this couple, or to be more specific, their body language is always a bit off. He usually looks needy, she looks uninterested and detached, and I've talked about this in more than a couple of videos, so it's no wonder that Victoria might not be as happy with the situation. I don't think any mother would like to see his son acting like a total simp without any frame or self-respect, making a fool of himself with such frequency in front of the cameras. But, now that I think of it, maybe it's a silver lining that Diana is not around to experience the same. But to make things even more interesting, because this is like those soap operas like General Hospital or EastEnders, Nicola Peltz's dad is Nelson Peltz. Yes, but at the same time, when I was talking about their wedding and their body language, I didn't realize that this man is the one that saved Disney from total destruction, because he is the man who stood against none other than Bob Iger, forcing him to accepting that Disney had to focus less on the agenda and more on the bottom line. And that was at the start of this year. Of course, I mentioned this skirmish because the circle closest around Harry pitching Meghan's voice acting skills to Bob Iger at that Lion King premiere. one of the worst moments in second-hand embarrassment history. I mean, I don't have much sympathy for Bob Iger. The guy almost single-handedly has driven Disney to the ground, but this was painful to watch. But again, can't you imagine if Harry and Meghan would have been at that wedding, Harold going straight to Mr. Peltz to tell him, "You know that Meghan does voice acting, right?" And Peltz, after the initial shock, would have answered, "You know, I'm just a shareholder, right? I don't have any decisions in production." And then Harry would have switched to that deer in headlights state of not knowing what to do, only to repeat a few seconds later, "You know that Meghan does voice acting, right?" Yeah, you know, that's exactly how that would have gone. Sadly, it so happens that we did not get to see Meghan as the Little Mermaid. That would have been a nice way to get the representation right, a biracial mermaid, as she would have been alongside her friend Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. But in fact, my sources say that Meghan was actually pitched a role, but not as the Little Mermaid, but as the Little Barmaid, a role with no lines and just serving Bud Light in the background, which she politely declined. But the way we know this was a real breakup between the Beckhams and the Harkles is because of football. And no, I'm not going to say soccer, football, as in Messi's debut for the Inter Miami, which David Beckham is co-owner. Well, for that event, they invited quite some celebrities, including LeBron James, Tom Brady, Kim Kardashian, Mark Anthony. I love Mark Anthony, by the way. But there was also Serena, who we can see here chatting with Kim. It's strange, right? Serena being Meghan's closest friend, perhaps, or one of her closest friends, and at the same time, Harry being her life coach or something. She always trusts in Harry for life advice, and she gets invited and they don't? How unfair! How dare you, David? You must be ashamed of yourself. You didn't invite them to your son's wedding. You don't invite them to Messi's debut. Well, the thing is that there is a good reason for this so-called friendship to have gone cold, if not end completely. According to the Daily Fail, the Montecito morons went as far as to accusing David and Victoria of leaking stories about them to the press. How about that? And you know that when it comes to leaking stories to the press about Harry, Meghan, or even the royal family, there is one and only one person responsible of that. But well, whatever relationship these two couples had is over, and one insider close to the Beckhams said that David was absolutely bloody furious by the accusation, especially when both of them were very supportive of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex when they arrived in the UK. So it seems that the Beckhams join the large amount of people that have been Markle in one way or another, making the Harkles circle of trust smaller than a Dodger in the middle of Frostnipistan. I would love to know what you think about this in the comments. My Royal Rogues, it's my pleasure to create these daily videos for you. All you need to do to support my channel is hit the like and subscribe buttons. Thank you, and remember, much love and bliss.